Who says 30 can't be fun? The Columbus Square Bowling Palace is turning 30, and the fun has just begun. Come celebrate our birthday with us. With 64 lanes of bowling open 24 hours for fun with friends and family, no matter what time it is, there's always time at the Palace. The Palace is the perfect place to hold your birthday party or corporate employee groups. Call us today to make your reservation. 30 years old and better than new, with millions of dollars in renovations at the highest rated bowling center in Columbus, the Columbus Square Bowling Palace.
The kick is wide right. Muskingum misses a 41-yard field goal with a minute left in the game to preserve the Otterbein 12-10 lead and eventual victory. You're watching Cardinal Kickoff, your exclusive source for all things Otterbein football, brought to you by the Columbus Square Bowling Palace, only on OTV. I'm David Kinder, joined in studio with Harrison Ralph. Harrison, how you doing?
I'm doing well, David.
Well, let's take no time. Let's get right into the highlights, and let's look how the game unfolded on Saturday. Otterbein 2-2 on the year coming into this one. Muskingum 1-3 on the year in the game. Well, it started out as a defensive struggle. Neither team able to move the ball hardly anywhere. And then after that, it turned into a battle of the two punters. We saw 9 punts in the first half of this one. However, with 8:59 in the first half, Otterbein's the first team to strike first. Sizemore back to pass. Carpenter on a post pattern. 54 yards later, he's in the end zone. Otterbein has their first touchdown, but the extra point woes continue for the Cardinals. A bad snap there. Alana Gaither misses. Muskingum's going to drive here and try to put some points on the board before we hit halftime. As Cody Williams drops back the pass, he's elusive. He's able to scramble and pick up the first down. Muskingum has it at the 50-yard line. And again, Williams, look at this amazing catch here by James Washington as he's able to keep both feet in bounds, get the ball down to the 21-yard line. And another long pass intended for Washington. It looks like he caught it, but they ruled it was incomplete. So another chance here, but Otterbein's able to come with the pressure. They get the sack, and it forces Caleb Carpenter into a field goal situation. He boots this 39-yarder with 38 seconds left to make it a 6-3 game at halftime, but Otterbein would come out fired up on defense. Here comes Cody Williams looking to put points on the board, but it's Jordan Boniface intercepting it in the end zone to end the Muskingum drive. Otterbein will move quickly down the field as McCoy makes a great grab here. Sizemore very effective. He's able to hook up again with Carpenter in the end zone, but again, the extra point no good. Muskingum, here they come again. Melvin Smith takes the carry down to the 1-yard line. Then 2 plays later, Smith is able to punch it in from the 1-yard line. We have a 2-point game after Caleb Carpenter converts on the extra point. Sizemore back to pass, looking to put some points up on the board for the Cardinals. He's scrambling out. He finds McCoy here, who catches it at the 50-yard line. McCoy's able to take it for a 30-yard gain. And then Tyler Hammond would carry around left in for an Otterbein first down, and Otterbein's in good position to score here late in the game. However, the offensive line would collapse. Sizemore under pressure. He goes down with the sack. On 4th down, the Cards are going to go for it. Sizemore flushed out of the pocket. He's going to try to pick it up with his feet. He is unable. Turnover on downs. Muskingum gets the ball back with just 7 minutes left on the clock. Here comes Cody Williams again. Now again, he's finding James Washington, who makes yet another acrobatic catch. The big man takes it down to the 35-yard line. Sets up this Caleb Carpenter field goal attempt to take the lead by 1, but it is wide to the right. A 38-yarder, no good. However, Muskingum still has all 3 timeouts. Otterbein's unable to pick up a first down, and they have to punt the ball away back to Muskingum. So this is what Muskingum does with the ball with 30 seconds left. Cody Williams back to pass. He gets sacked by the front 7 of Otterbein. He quickly tries to get up the line, but look what he does here. He lines up under the left guard instead of the center. And by that time, the time has expired, and Otterbein escapes narrowly with a 12-10 victory over Muskingum at homecoming in New Concord, Ohio. And for the Cards, with the 12-10 victory, they advanced to 3-2 on the year, 3-1 in OAC play. Sizemore with an effective game, 2 passing touchdowns, both of them to Steve Carpenter. And on the defensive side of the ball, Austin Jones, freshman, with a huge day. Linebacker Eric Mitchell also had a big game with 11 tackles too. Well, Otterbein gets the win, Harrison, 12-10. They advanced to 3-2 on the season, 2-1 on conference play, but it was anything from far from a beautiful win. Very sloppy play at times. Offense struggled, and comparatively from last week when they had 260 rushing yards against a decent Baldwin Wallace team, obviously Drew Irvin having 230 of them. Completely different game this time. Only 57 rushing yards on 27 attempts. Sizemore was sacked 4 times in the game. He was seemingly running around his entire life for the game. What changed between last week and week 4 and this week against Muskingum?
Well, here's what you have, David. You have an inexperienced offensive line. And when you have an inexperienced offensive line, really when you have a position that is inexperienced, that position will be inconsistent. From week to week, they will be inconsistent. And that's exactly what we have seen from the offensive line of the Otterbein Cardinals. Inconsistency. They've been really consistently inconsistent. When you look at each game, you never really know what you're going to get. And I think that has a lot to do with the limited offense that Otterbein has been able to produce this season.
What's been most amazing about this offense, despite the fact that Sizemore's been running around, in the past few games he's been very effective, and we haven't heard any more rumors of a quarterback competition at all. You know, a few weeks ago, a lot of people around campus were calling for Brick Davis to get in, and I think maybe that pressure might have scared Sizemore a little bit, the senior, to play a little better. Last week against Muskingum, 205 yards, no interceptions all year, still hasn't thrown a pick. Very effective in that game, despite the fact that he was running around a lot.
Well, Ben Sizemore is very mobile, and that is a very important when you have an offensive line that can struggle from time to time. If you have a guy that's going to sit back there in the pocket and isn't too mobile, the pressure is going to get to him, and that clock is going to be much shorter than if you have a mobile quarterback, i.e. Ben Sizemore, who's back there. He can run, he can extend the play, and I think that's why Sizemore has had a little bit more success, and that's why he is still holding on to that starting job.
Since the first 3 weeks of the season, this defense has improved 100 times over. A really, really great pressure on the quarterback last year, and for my money, Austin Jones was the MVP of that game. 14 tackles in the game, 3.5 tackles for loss. He forced a fumble all around. The front 7 of Otterbein's defense was spectacular in that game. They were getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback, and they really were able to contain the run, something we didn't see in the first few weeks of the season.
Yeah, I mean, the defense is coming along. They're coming along, and obviously we'll get to it here in a second, but they're going to have their hands full this week against Heidelberg, but they as well have been a little inconsistent. Only 4 sacks this season, David. Up front, really coming into the season, you would think this is where their strength is going to be. Zach Greaves and OAC Defensive Player of the Year, Pat Seaschultz, coming back for his senior year. 2 seniors on the bookend on the offensive line. Pat Coleman, another senior in the middle. You thought kind of coming into the season it was going to be the defensive line was going to be extremely disruptive, and we've seen flashes of that here this season. Muskingum this past week is one example, but they need to do it more consistently. Seaschultz, Greaves, those guys are tremendous players. We need to see it on a consistent level because they, against Heidelberg, and again, we'll get deeper into this later in the program, but this is a very important part of this football team, is getting pressure on the quarterback, disrupting the running game in the backfield, really controlling that line of scrimmage on defense. We haven't necessarily seen it like we did last year. Hopefully we'll see that here in weeks to come.
Do you expect to see a lot more blitzing this week going into week 6, or just you need improved line play to get pressure on him, bull rush him? What do you need to get pressure on that quarterback and to disrupt the running game this week?
Well, the problem is that Heidelberg is so incredibly balanced in their offense. Great passing the ball, great rushing the ball, and if you're going to blitz, Heidelberg is just going to sit back there and pick you apart, throw the ball downfield. And so I think Coach Moore, the defensive coordinator, is really going to have to hide his blitz packages and wait until the play clock gets far down and not a lot of time left, because Michael Meese, the quarterback, he'll see the blitz and he'll change the play and he'll throw the ball, get rid of it, and Heidelberg will go down the field and score points like they've done all season, averaging 63 points per game.
Hopefully Otterbein can limit that a little bit next week. Well, we're going to step away and take a little bit of a break here on Cardinal Kickoff. When we come back, we'll dive further into week 6, and we'll talk more about the Heidelberg offense and defense.
Still up? Can't sleep? Looking for something to do? Come to a place where the fun never sleeps. Columbus Square Bowling Palace. It's been the premier bowling destination in Central Ohio for 30 years. With 64 lanes of bowling open 24 hours, no matter what time it is, there's always time at the Palace for fun with friends and family. Join the Night Owl regulars at Columbus Square Bowling Palace, where the fun never sleeps.
Well, Harrison, week 6 on the horizon, and for the Cardinals, they're going to welcome the Student Princes of Heidelberg into town to play under the lights of Memorial Stadium. And for Otterbein, this will also commemorate the 23rd annual Rhine River Classic, which commemorates the first time an American football team played overseas on German soil when Otterbein and Heidelberg played in 1992 to a 7-7 tie, and it'll commemorate that game, so a little bit of a rivalry. And for Heidelberg, they come in one of 3 undefeated teams left in the OAC, John Carroll, Mount Union being the other, and they also bring in the 12th national ranking among Division III football teams, and they exclusively almost rely on the rushing game. Their running back, their junior back, Cardinal Brooks, is leading the conference in rushing, and as a team, they lead the conference in rushing over 250 yards a game. What does Coach Stout need to do, and what does this front 7 need to do to make sure they can stop Brooks and stop the entire Student Prince's offensive rushing attack?
You're going to have to get off blocks. You're going to have to get off. If you're on the defense, the Otterbein defense, you're going to have to work off of blocks, which is much easier said than done, obviously, as Heidelberg has a very strong, very experienced offensive line. And Cardinal Brooks has had a lot of fun running behind those guys this year and last year as well. You mentioned over 100 yards for Cardinal Brooks last season against Otterbein, and he's going to be looking to do more of the same this year. But you mentioned how Heidelberg loves to run the football, how that's really their bread and butter, that's really where all their success comes from. They're extremely balanced as well. 262 rushing yards per game, but also 294 passing yards per game. 18 rushing touchdowns this season, 21 passing touchdowns this season. So they are extremely balanced, which is difficult for an Otterbein defense that comes in struggling, as we mentioned earlier in the program. They're going to have to play a little bit better. They're going to have to step it up and play very good football.
Well, defense struggling a little bit beginning of the year. Statistically, the Otterbein offense is one of the worst in the OAC, coming to this one only averaging about 12 points a game, which is 3rd worst. The Berg defense is only giving up 15 points a game, which is 2nd best in the conference. So what should we see out of the Otterbein offense? There's a lot of formations we've seen this year. We saw the pistol, where we saw Deaton and Irvin in the backfield at the same time. We saw the I formation with both those backs, and we've also seen go exclusively shotgun, Derek Rudolph, Tyler Hammond get out, more speed package. What kind of offense should we see out of the Cardinals when they take the field Saturday?
Ball control. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be ball control is what Otterbein is going to have to do. You're going to have to keep that Heidelberg offense that's so high-powered off the field as much as possible. Keep them on the sideline. Let your defense rest between series. And to do that, you're going to have to control time of possession, which obviously means you're going to have to be very successful running the football, which we've seen from Otterbein. Drew Irvin has done a tremendous job running the football. You look at Baldwin Wallace, did a great job. The other thing, Otterbein has to do better on 3rd down. They have to be better on 3rd down. Just 28% efficiency on 3rd down. That has to improve. You're going to have to string together drives, have to get first downs to do that, and you're going to have to come through on some 3rd down plays. Also, Otterbein, 0 points in the 4th quarter. That has to be better. Otterbein's not going to blow Heidelberg out of the water. It's going to be a close game, and in the 4th quarter, Otterbein will have to score some points in those pressure situations. We'll see if they can do it.
Well, now we're going to throw it back a few decades to take a look what Otterbein football is like before they had Memorial Stadium to play at, in a segment we call Football Flashback.
In the beginning, Otterbein didn't have a football field. We didn't have any kind of athletic field. When we needed to play a game of some kind, we used the back lawn of Towers Hall. About 1910 or so, the class of 1911 decided that for their class project, their class gift, they were going to raise money to level and grade a proper football field if the school would promise to purchase a suitable parcel of land. Well, the school thought that was a good idea, and so they purchased land approximately where the campus center is today. And so in a large field day, all the classes, all the faculty and staff got together and spent the day cleaning, grading, and preparing this spot. A couple years later, a wooden grandstand, once again built by the students under the direction of a couple of the faculty, most importantly, under the supervision of R.F. Martin, a big name in Otterbein athletics. This field and grandstand served us pretty well. About 1927 or so, there were rumors flying around that there was going to be a fire. Somebody was going to burn down the grandstand. Why? We're not really sure. But on the eve of the homecoming game, students patrolled and were on duty all night to make sure that nothing happened. And of course, nothing did. The game was played and all was well. Unfortunately, a couple weeks later then, on the eve of the Capital game, somebody torched the stands. This is my personal theory. There's no real evidence to support it, but my belief is that somebody got into their head that, hey, if we torch this crappy little stadium stand that we've got, then we can build a better one with the insurance money. We were playing schools like Denison, Ohio Wesleyan. You know, they have beautiful big stadiums, and so we probably felt a little bit inadequate. We wanted something to compete with them. Unfortunately, the stands and the equipment that was stored under the stands were woefully underinsured. So for the next 20 years almost, we didn't have any sort of structure. I'm not sure exactly when, but eventually the location of the field shifted to where it is today, and that's where it has been ever since.
Well, as always, before we step away here on Cardinal Kickoff, Harrison, let's have your final thoughts on Saturday's game, and let's get a score prediction.
All right, David. Otterbein has struggled this year. We've seen that in really every game. Even the games that they've won, they've had times where they have struggled. To win this game, Otterbein's going to have to play almost perfect the entire time. They're going to play very consistent football, very disciplined football. I'm not sure if they can do it, but here's one thing I would like to see from Otterbein. I would like to see Stephen Carpenter get the football in his hands a little bit more. He is obviously the leading receiver for Otterbein, but he only has 2 carries for 6 yards. I'd like to see maybe some reverses, maybe him line up in the backfield, maybe a couple tosses, screen pass, whatever. I think the ball needs to be in your playmaker's hands. And being a senior, Stephen Carpenter can definitely make plays. We've seen it in the past years and this year as well, a lot of speed, elusiveness. I'd like to see Stephen Carpenter get the ball more, not just through the air, but on the ground as well. My score prediction, however, is going to be Otterbein only going to score 16 points. I don't think they're going to be able to move the ball very well against this Heidelberg defense. Heidelberg, I have them at 47. So 47-16, Heidelberg wins on the road against Otterbein at Memorial Stadium.
Last time I predicted Otterbein to lose was going into the Baldwin-Wallace game, and I was extremely satisfied because we actually won that game. But looking at the statistics in this one, there's no statistical category thus far through 5 games that Otterbein is better at Heidelberg at. So it's hard to pick Otterbein to win this one, and that's why I'm going to go 38-21. The Student Princes win, and hopefully I'm the first to admit that we're wrong if that's the case.
Well, you don't have a very good record so far this year.
I have a terrible record in predicting games this year. I predicted them to lose to Baldwin-Wallace. They won that one. I predicted them to beat St. John Fisher. I predicted them to beat John Carroll. I have one win this year, the Wilmington game. I predicted
which
that.
Those don't always count.
The Wilmington game doesn't count?
Yes.
Well, I have a terrible record this year, and hopefully it keeps getting worse because I'm predicting them to lose this week. So I'd be happy if I was wrong again.
I would as well. We'll see what happens.
Oh, we will, and definitely. And Saturday, you can see what happens if you tune into OTV to watch the game. Game will start around 7 o'clock. I will have the call. You can tune in a little early for a bit of a pregame show, see what Coach Daup has to say. And Dawn Stewart will also be in studio. We'll get some opinions from her. So tune in to watch the game. If you can't make it, of course, if you can, be at Memorial Stadium with kickoff around 7 o'clock under the lights of Memorial Stadium. We thank you for watching Cardinal Kickoff, brought to you by the Columbus Square Bowling Palace on OTV. For my co-producer, Aaron Reinhart, I'm David Kinder, along with Harrison Ralph. Thanks for watching. Go Cards!
Who says 30 can't be fun? The Columbus Square Bowling Palace is turning 30, and the fun has just begun. Come celebrate our birthday with us. With 64 lanes of bowling open 24 hours for fun with friends and family, no matter what time it is, there's always time at the Palace. The Palace is the perfect place to hold your birthday party or corporate employee groups. Call us today to make your reservation. 30 years old and better than new, with millions of dollars in renovations at the highest rated bowling center in Columbus, the Columbus Square Bowling Palace.